The morning light came in slow and wide through the open hangar doors, spilling pale white across a floor so clean it looked like glass. The city skyline sat in the distance, hazy and soft behind a thin curtain of June air. Inside, 12 private jets stood in 2 long rows, polished to a shine that almost hurt to look at. Their white bodies gleamed under the industrial lights above, and the faint smell of fuel and metal hung in the air like something permanent, something that had lived there for years. Marcus Cole walked in through a side entrance, carrying a worn steel toolbox in one hand. He was not a tall man, but he moved like someone who was used to carrying weight. His jacket was faded, creased in all the right places, the kind of garment that told a long story without saying a word. His jeans were clean but worn at the knees. His boots were scuffed but solid. He looked like a man who had spent his entire life working with his hands, and he had. He had gotten the call 3 days ago. A quiet referral through an old colleague. A fleet of 12 jets, all grounded. Nobody knew why. The aircraft had passed every inspection, cleared every checklist, and still, they would not start correctly. The onboard systems flickered. The pressure readings were unstable. 3 separate maintenance teams had come and gone, and none of them had found the answer. Marcus had worked on aircraft for 27 years. He had started in the Navy, then moved to commercial aviation, then slowly, quietly, built a small reputation among people who cared more about results than resumes. He did not advertise. He did not have a website. He had a phone number and a toolbox, and that was enough. He set his toolbox down near the first jet and crouched beside the nose landing gear, running his fingers slowly along the hydraulic line. He was not in a hurry. He rarely was. That was when she walked in. Her name was Victoria Harland. She was the CEO of Harland Global, one of the fastest-growing private aviation companies on the eastern seaboard. She wore a white suit that looked like it had never known a wrinkle, and she moved through the hangar like she owned the air inside it, which, in a practical sense, she did. Behind her came a group of people in dark suits, all of them carrying tablets and quiet expressions. A senior technician named Raymond followed a few steps behind, holding a clipboard and looking like a man who wished he were somewhere else. Victoria stopped a few feet away from Marcus and looked him over slowly, the way someone looks at something they are not sure belongs in their space. "You're the one they sent," she said. Marcus looked up from the landing gear. "Yes, ma'am." She tilted her head slightly, glancing at his jacket, his toolbox, his scuffed boots. A small smile came to her face, but it was not a warm one. The people behind her shifted. One of them pressed a hand to their mouth. "You couldn't fix a toy plane," she said. The words landed in the room like something dropped. Not loud, just heavy. The group behind her made sounds. Someone laughed. Someone else followed. They were not cruel people, probably. But they were people who lived in a world where appearances carried enormous weight, and Marcus did not look like the kind of man who belonged in a room full of $12 million jets. Marcus did not change his expression. He did not stand up right away. He looked at the hydraulic line for another moment, then gently pressed 2 fingers against a section of the tubing that ran toward the fuselage. He felt something, a small irregularity, a vibration in the material that should not have been there. He stood up then, slowly, and turned to face Victoria. "Then your 12 jets are finished," he said. His voice was even, not angry, not cold, just honest. Victoria's smile faded slightly. "Excuse me. The fault is in the shared fuel pressure regulation system," Marcus said. "It's a manufacturing variance in a single relay component. All 12 aircraft use the same model. The variance is small enough to pass standard inspection, but under load, it creates a pressure fluctuation that throws off the ignition sequence. Whoever installed these jets sourced from the same production batch. That's your problem." Silence settled over the hangar. Raymond looked up from his clipboard. One of the executives stopped tapping at his tablet. Victoria looked at Marcus for a long moment without speaking. "We had 3 teams look at this," she said quietly. "I know," Marcus said. "I read their reports. They were looking for bigger problems." He reached into his toolbox and pulled out a small diagnostic reader, the kind that most maintenance teams did not carry because it was built for a specific, older relay system that most people assumed had been phased out. He connected it to the access panel beneath the fuselage. The numbers appeared on the small screen. They said exactly what Marcus had said they would say. Raymond walked over and looked at the screen. He let out a long, slow breath. Over the next 4 hours, Marcus moved from jet to jet, methodical and unhurried. He replaced the relay component on each aircraft, recalibrated the pressure regulation sequence, and ran a full system check. He did not speak much. He did not need to. By late afternoon, all 12 jets had been cleared. Raymond ran the final test on the last aircraft, and when the engines came to life with a low, steady hum, something shifted in the air of the hangar. Not dramatic, just real. Victoria found Marcus near the side entrance, closing his toolbox. She stood beside him for a moment without speaking. Then she said, "I was wrong to say what I said." Marcus looked at her. There was no bitterness in his eyes. "Happens," he said. "I judged you before I understood anything about you." He picked up the toolbox. "Most people do," he said simply. "I stopped worrying about it a long time ago." He walked toward the door, and the afternoon light came in to meet him, warm and wide, the kind of light that had no opinion about what a man was wearing or where he had come from. He just walked into it, the way he always did. Quietly, surely, with everything he needed already in his hands.